Well, as I've said many times in your programs, very simple point of view. I simply don't trust my government, especially this character Biden, and I don't trust the Fed, I don't trust the banks, and I don't trust Wall Street. So it's pretty simple philosophy. In other words, what I say, every time I'm on your show, if you can print it, I don't want it. So if you can print the dollar, I don't want it. You can print a stock, I don't want it. I want something I can see, touch, and feel, or like our friend Jim Rickard says, what's real. So as you know, I've been a gold bug since about 1971 when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And I'm becoming more fanatical, not less. And I literally have tons of gold and silver, tons, because I own gold mine. I graduated from school in New York in 1969, and I had a high-paying job. I'm an oil guy. So I sail for Standard Oil on their oil tankers. So my background is oil. But I still joined the U.S. Marine Corps in 1969 to go fight in Vietnam. And Marines don't fight for Democrats or Republicans, liberals or conservatives. Marines fight for our freedoms. And so when I saw our freedoms being taken away, especially after the 2020 election, Donald Trump's a personal friend of mine, I've written 2 books together. But when they took our freedoms away, that's when I went back to war. And that's why I'm willing to take the fire from the liberal academic left. And I'm afraid, I'm just concerned about our country and the world, especially this guy Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, and what the hell are they doing? Why aren't we fighting back? So that's why I said I had more to lose than to gain by writing the book. I realize, I hate to say this, but most academics are Marxists. And my poor dad was a Marxist. The abolition of private property, a heavier progressive income tax is essential for the proper development of communism. And Biden just appointed 87,000 new IRS agents to go after small business owners. So we're becoming a fascist totalitarian state. But and most people think, well, paying taxes is, you're supposed to do it. If you look at history, the facts are America was founded as a tax revolt. 1773, I believe, Boston Tea Party. It was a tax revolt. We're not a slave nation. To say we're a systemically racist country is the biggest lie possible. There are racists, granted, but we're not systemically racist. And that's why I fight now. And that's why I said I better say something, because I went to military school. I fought in Vietnam twice, and I fight for freedom. And they're taking our freedoms away. It goes back to this book here. Marx said, this is 1848. It's only about 50 pages. It's not the most, but it's a great read. He said communism would come in 2 phases. And the first phase was 1930. So this is 1848. He said communism would come in 2 phases. So 1930, the Berlin school sent teachers to Columbia University to teach the Columbia University teachers program. And that's when communism entered America as socialism. And I was in school in New York in the 60s, and that's when the first rioting broke out at Columbia University, which spread across the country. And then the second phase happened, in my opinion, in 2020, when social media shut down the President of the United States. And that's the loss of our freedom of speech there. And COVID, which was Klaus Schwab, how can they censor doctors? How can you get fired for speaking out against COVID? I just don't understand our loss of freedoms, and we say nothing about it. So my point of view is communism entered America via our school system. We're talking before we went on. There's this guy named Andy Sheckman. I never heard of him before. And he took my paranoia to a whole nother level. He's worth listening to. My whole company has to listen to this guy, Andy Sheckman, because if you're not a gold bug by the time you listen, I've listened to him 3 times now. I'm on my 4th time going through his hour talk. But if you're not a gold bug by then, you'll never will be, because gold is money. And he talks about how the BIS, Bank of International Settlements, just elevated gold to tier 1. Gold used to be tier 3. That just happened. So tier 1 means gold is money. What was happening before this was the US Treasury bills, bonds, were money. And so gold just got promoted to tier 1, which Harry Dent and I get into it all the time because he's a smart dude, but he wants everybody to buy treasuries. And this guy, Andy Schectman, again, I hope you guys interview him. If he doesn't make you drink the Kool-Aid for gold, nobody will. I mean, he is so frightening what he says. So my long way of saying it's getting worse. And this guy Schectman has this data to back it up. Andy Schectman talks a lot about that. He talks about the BRICS. The BRICS nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And he talks about how the Belt and Road project now is going to affect 90% of the world's population, and they'll all be on the CBDC yuan. They'll be going into Chinese crypto, not American. So the US dollar, according to this guy Andy Schectman, is toast. And that's why it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They're going to take over the world with their own gold standard. They're everywhere. I invited you, and you're still invited. We bought a gold mine in Utah. I made the mistake of starting a gold mine in China. I took it public on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and the Chinese took it. So I stopped eating Chinese food after that. But anyway, they nationalized the damn mine. But anyway, I invited you, and you're still invited. This is my latest mine here. It's called the Trixie Mine, and the call sign is ODV. Well, let me read the ounces per ton. This piece here is 671 ounces per ton. This is 671 ounces. It's the richest gold mine possibly in the world, but in America. It's 140 years old, and it sat there. Nobody looked at it because it was 140 years old. And this enterprising guy named Marin Katusa out of Vancouver, he said, let me look at this. So he went into the gold mine. It's a long story to say. He looked at the records, 140 years of all these little miners, with the burros and all this stuff, digging around in this place in Utah. He took all their records and digitalized it. And once he digitalized it, he looked at it, he put it into kind of pictures, and he says, oh my God, those guys 140 years ago missed the vein. Without technology, he would never have seen it. So he went in there and he went left like 20 feet, and that's why it's 671 ounces per ton. The richest gold mine in America. Now, don't believe a word I say because I'm a pitch man, but it's ODV, check it out. But there's more opportunity than ever before. My poor dad was a PhD, which stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. And they believe that their credentials, they believe a higher degree, like a master's or doctorates, will save them from the world. So their values are different. Whereas you and I and other people say, well, let's learn about money, let's learn about finance. But in the academics world is, I have a PhD and I'm smarter than you. That's a set of different value systems. The reason I joined the Marine Corps and not the Coast Guard, I could have flown for the Coast Guard or flown for the Marine Corps, is I'm going to go to war. So values are core to the individual. And unfortunately, we all don't come from the same set of values. And most school teachers are different from us. They're good people, like my poor dad's a good man, but he was a Marxist. He believed in taxation and the abolition of private property and labor unions. Since we're on a gold channel, I'd say your biggest thing is put yourself on a gold standard and silver standard. The hard, start with one silver coin is about $20, or one gold coin is about 2,000. But put yourself on a gold and silver standard because they're still real money.